I was running on fumes. 3 days of back-to-back client meetings, hotel coffee, and late-night emails had drained every ounce of my energy. The taxi ride from the airport felt longer than the actual flight, and all I could think about was stepping into my room, collapsing onto my bed, and not moving until morning. The air outside was thick with that familiar mix of dust and distant cooking smells from the neighborhood. Home. That word had always brought me comfort, until that day, the moment the taxi turned the corner and my family's house came into view, something felt wrong. It wasn't obvious at first. The gate was closed, the front yard looked the same, and the porch light was on. But there was this stillness, a strange and natural silence. Then my eyes dropped to the ground. Right there, leaning against the inside of the gate, were 3 enormous black garbage bags. They weren't tied neatly. They were bulging, lopsided, like they'd been stuffed in a hurry. One of them had a tear down the side, and spilling out of it was a heap of familiar fabric. I recognized it instantly. My old university hoodie, the one I'd worn during all-nighters, the one that still had a faint coffee stain on the sleeve from my finals week years ago. At first, my brain scrambled for a harmless explanation. Maybe Mom had done some cleaning while I was gone. Maybe she'd cleared out old storage. Maybe. But then I saw the next thing, a pair of my shoes, my favorite black sneakers, lying half in the dirt, one upside down, as if they'd been tossed and forgotten. My pulse started to pick up. I got out of the taxi, dragging my suitcase behind me. Okay, weird, I muttered under my breath. But the real punch in the gut was still waiting. As I reached for the gate, I saw her. My mom, standing on the porch, arms crossed tightly over her chest, her expression unreadable, but not warm, not welcoming. There was no smile, no welcome home, just a look so cold it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Her body language was tense, almost defensive. This wasn't just a bad mood. This was something else. I forced a tired smile. Hey, what's with the bags? Did something happen while I was gone? She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me for a long, uncomfortable second. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Finally, she said it. You don't live here anymore. 6 words. 6 words that ripped through me like glass. For a moment, I actually thought I'd misheard her. My brain went into denial mode. What? I asked, my voice coming out quieter than I intended. What do you mean I don't live here anymore? She didn't soften. She didn't look away. Her tone was icy, final. Exactly what I said. You don't live here. You can take your things and go. I stood there, gripping the handle of my suitcase so tightly my knuckles went white. The weight of those words sank in slowly, like ice water pouring into my chest. I tried to search her face for some sign of hesitation, some crack in the armor. Was this a twisted joke? A punishment for something I didn't know I'd done? But no, her expression was as firm as a locked door. The silence between us was deafening. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, a car drove past, life outside went on like nothing was wrong. But here, at this gate, my whole world had shifted. I glanced back at the garbage bags, at the torn hoodie spilling out, at the sneakers in the dirt. It was humiliating. It was as if my life had been packed away like unwanted clutter. And the worst part, she had done it without telling me. No warning, no text, not even a passive-aggressive note. I took a step forward, my voice trembling but firm. Mom, I've lived here my whole life. This is my home. What is going on? Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't move from her spot. You've been gone more than you've been here lately. You're hardly around. I made other arrangements. The words hit like another slap. This was my home, my safe place. And in the span of one short business trip, it had been taken away from me. The exhaustion I'd been feeling from my trip was replaced by something else, a tight, burning knot of disbelief and anger. I wanted to shout. I wanted to demand answers, but the shock had locked my throat. Instead, I just stood there, feeling like the ground beneath my feet wasn't real anymore. A memory flashed through my mind, me at 12 years old, standing in this very same spot with scraped knees, crying. After falling off my bike, Mom had opened the door then, hugged me, and told me, no matter what happens, this is your home. Now she was standing in the same place, looking at me like I was an intruder. I swallowed hard. So that's it, I just don't live here anymore. Her reply was short, that's it. That was when I realized the house I had grown up in, the place filled with all my childhood memories, wasn't my home anymore. Not because I had left, but because someone I loved had decided to throw me out of it. And standing therein, the cool evening air, surrounded by my life in garbage bags, I knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of a story I never saw coming. I bent down and grabbed the garbage bags, the plastic stretching and creaking under the weight of whatever had been crammed inside. My arms strained as I dragged them inside the gate, my suitcase rolling awkwardly behind me. The bags were heavy, too heavy to be just a few things. Part of me still clung to the idea that this was just some bizarre misunderstanding. Maybe Mom had moved my stuff for cleaning. Maybe there had been a leak in my room. Maybe anything but what it looked like. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom, this is my home. I've lived here my whole life. What are you talking about? Her lips pressed together in a thin, tight line. She didn't answer me. Not directly. Instead, she shifted to the side, like a stage curtain being pulled back, and there he was, my cousin, Sam, leaning awkwardly in the doorway. But what caught my attention wasn't his face. It was the glint of metal in his hand, a key, not just any key. My house key. It dangled from his fingers like it had always belonged to him. But it HAD in single quotes T. Until now. My stomach dropped. I looked at Sam, waiting for some explanation, some apology. But his eyes flickered toward me for only a second before darting to the floor. Mom's single quotes S voice cut through the air, calm and flat, almost rehearsed. This is his house now. I gave him your room. You can collect the rest of your things later. The words didn't register at first. I blinked, processing them slowly, like a bad connection on a phone call. His house, I repeated. You gave him my room. Sam shifted his weight uncomfortably, but still didn't say a word. I took a step closer, my voice rising despite my exhaustion. You gave him my room, without telling me, without even asking. Mom's reply came without hesitation, without guilt. You're never around, you're always at work, and he needs a place to stay. You'll figure something out. You'll figure something out. The way she said it, like my life, my space, my comfort were just minor inconveniences to be brushed aside, made my chest burn. I laughed once, sharply, in disbelief. So let me get this straight. I leave for 3 days. 3, and you decide I don't live here anymore. You pack my things in garbage bags, hand my room to Sam, and tell me to figure something out. Her expression didn't change. Sam's family, he's going through a rough time. You're doing well for yourself, aren't you? You can afford to be on your own. That was the knife twist. The suggestion that my independence, my hard work, somehow meant I didn't deserve a home here anymore. I turned to Sam. Did you know she was doing this? His mouth opened like he was about to answer, but then he shut it again, shrugging helplessly. His eyes stayed fixed on the floor, like if he didn't look at me, he could pretend he wasn't part of this betrayal. It was all too clean, too neat, too planned. The bags weren't thrown together in the last hour. They'd been packed with care, folded clothes, boxes taped shut, even my framed photos wrapped in old newspapers. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. She had planned this. No warning, no discussion. No chance for me to defend myself, just quiet execution. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense, and that hurt even more. Sam had always been her favorite, the golden boy of the extended family, the one who could do no wrong. I'd seen it for years, but I told myself it was harmless favoritism. Now, Standing here with my life in trash bags, I realized how far that favoritism went. I could feel heat rising in my face. Part anger, part humiliation. Wow, I said, shaking my head. I didn't even get a phone call. Not even a text saying, "By the way, your home won't be your home anymore." Mom's tone was cool, dismissive. "I didn't think you'd take it so personally. You've been gone more than you've been here. You practically moved out already." "No," I shot back. "I work. That doesn't mean I moved out. This is still my home." Or at least, it was. For the first time, she looked away from me, glancing toward the street. But she didn't take it back. Sam finally muttered something under his breath. So low, I almost didn't catch it. "It's just temporary." I turned on him. "Temporary? You've already got my key. My stuff is in bags. How temporary is that?" He had no answer. A long silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. The air felt heavier than before, like every breath was a battle. I stood there, taking it all in. The bags at my feet, the key in Sam's hand, my mother's unblinking stare. It was a scene I never thought I'd see in my life. And the worst part wasn't losing the room. It was realizing that the decision had been made without me, that I hadn't mattered enough to be included in it. It was the kind of betrayal that didn't come with yelling or slam doors. It was quiet, surgical, final, a silent execution, and as I stood there, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever this was, whatever the reason, it wasn't just about giving Sam a place to stay. It was about pushing me out. And my mom had done it with the same cold efficiency you'd use to clear old furniture from a spare room. The truth didn't take long to come out. It was almost as if they had been rehearsing their story, ready to roll it out the second I started asking questions. While I was away on my business trip, Sam had shown up at the house, bags in hand, sad expression. The whole woe is me performance. He was going through a rough patch. According to Mom, she didn't go into much detail at first, but I'd later learned he'd left yet another job after personality clashes with his boss and was behind on rent. Mom had always favored him, her sister's son, the so-called golden boy of the family. I'd grown up watching it happen. When we were kids, if Sam broke something, it was just an accident. If I did the same, it was carelessness. If Sam needed help, everyone would rush to his side. If I needed help, the answer was usually, "You'll figure it out." I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that when he appeared at her door, Mom didn't hesitate. She told me, with zero shame, that she didn't even consider calling me before giving him my room. "Why would I?" she said. "You're independent enough to survive on your own. Sam doesn't have that right now." Independent enough. That was her excuse. The same compliment she'd used for years to justify treating me like I didn't need anyone. Apparently, she'd even taken it a step further, calling relatives and telling them I was moving out soon anyway. That was news to me. I hadn't said a single word about moving out. In fact, with my promotion, I'd been planning to save up for another year before buying my own place. But to them, my absence during a 3-day trip was proof I was already gone. I tried to keep my voice calm, even though my chest felt like it was going to explode. "So you just decided, on your own, that I was moving out, and instead of checking with me, you told the whole family I was leaving." She didn't flinch. "It's not a big deal. You're an adult. Stop acting like a child. Sam needs family right now." That sentence hit me in the gut harder than I expected. Sam needs family right now. The unspoken part was loud and clear. "You done single quotas." My mind raced back to every holiday where Sam was the center of attention. The extra gifts under the tree with his name on them. The way Mom's voice softened when she talked to him, compared to the brisk tone she used with me. I had always brushed it off. I told myself it was harmless favoritism. But standing here, now, with my belongings in garbage bags and my cousin holding my house key, I realized just how deep that favoritism ran. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "Do you hear yourself? You're telling me that the cousin who can't hold down a job, who's burned through every bridge he's had, gets priority over the child who's actually been responsible over me. Her eyes narrowed, and that familiar steel wall went up. You think because you make money now, you're better than everyone else. This isn't about who's more successful. It's about family helping each other. I almost laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of amusement. Family helping each other. Where was the help when I was working 2 jobs in college just to pay my tuition? Where was the help when my car broke down and I had to take the bus for 6 months? She didn't answer. The silence between us felt like a canyon. I turned to Sam, who still hadn't said a word. Did you know I didn't agree to this? Did you care? He looked up at me for the first time, his eyes flickering with something, maybe guilt, maybe discomfort. But instead of apologizing, he said, I thought you were moving out. And he said you were fine with it? I almost couldn't believe it. Fine with it? I didn't even know about it until I got here. He shifted uncomfortably but didn't hand me back the key. That small piece of metal in his hand felt like a symbol of everything. The betrayal, the dismissal, the fact that I no longer had a place in my own home. The more I argued, the more Mom looked at me like I was the problem, like I was being unreasonable, like I was making a scene over something I should have understood. I realized something in that moment. This wasn't a decision made out of desperation. This wasn't her being forced to help Sam. This was a choice to prioritize him over me. And that hurt in a way I wasn't prepared for. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. Do you have any idea what it feels like to come home and find your life in garbage bags? To see your own mother give your room away without a word? To find out your entire family thinks you're gone because you told them I was? Her face didn't change, but her eyes flickered for just a second. Maybe surprise, maybe discomfort, but it was gone almost instantly. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said finally. You'll find somewhere else. You always do. And there it was again. That same cold phrase, you'll find somewhere else. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that just because I could survive on my own didn't mean I deserved to be pushed out. But something stopped me. Because looking at her, I realized she had already made up her mind. I wasn't going to win this argument. Not today. So I stood there, holding back the flood of words I wanted to unleash, and let the silence settle like a thick, suffocating fog. In that silence, I understood something. She wasn't just giving Sam a place to stay. She was replacing me. And she didn't even feel the need to hide it. I didn't explode. I didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't fling the garbage bags back at her door like a dramatic movie scene. I just stood there for a few moments, taking it all in. The look on Mom's face, calm, final, the way Sam's fingers curled protectively around the house key, like he was afraid I'd snatch it. The sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. And then I did something that surprised even me. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile you wear when you've been handed a knife, but decide you'll choose when and where to use it. Without a word, I pulled my phone out of my pocket. See, there was something Mom didn't know, and something Sam had completely underestimated. I had just been promoted at work. My salary had gone up, my responsibilities had expanded, and most importantly, my influence had grown. I wasn't just another employee anymore. People in my industry respected me. They listened when I spoke. They remembered when I helped them. And Sam didn't have any of that. In fact, I happened to know exactly where he worked. A mid-sized local firm. And that wasn't just random knowledge. It was personal. Because a week earlier, I'd done a favor for my boss's close friend. I'd helped his daughter get hired at that very same firm. Connections are a funny thing. When you treat people well, when you show up for them without expecting anything in return, you build quiet power. The kind that doesn't need to be announced. The kind that works behind the scenes. I scrolled through my contacts, found the number I wanted, and hit call. The conversation was short, casual. We didn't even talk about getting rid of anyone. I just told the truth. that I had come home from a work trip to find myself effectively homeless because my cousin had taken my room without my consent, with my mother's full approval. There was a pause on the other end of the line, then a slow, low whistle. "That's cold," my contact said. "I didn't know he was family. I wouldn't even care if it was temporary," I replied. "But the way it was done, that's not someone you can trust." I didn't ask for anything directly. I didn't need to. People who value loyalty don't like hearing about betrayal, especially when it involves someone they work with. By the time I hung up, I knew the wheels were already turning. And sure enough, it didn't take long. 3 days later, Sim got called into his manager's office. The official story: restructuring. His hours were being cut. No one said why. Of course, no one ever does. But I could imagine the conversations that happened behind closed doors. Maybe it was about team trust. Maybe it was about attitude concerns. Or maybe it was just the quiet understanding that when someone treats their own family like that, they'll treat colleagues the same way. Sim tried to brush it off at first, just a temporary setback. He told Mom, "They'll give me more hours again soon." But within a month, he wasn't just short on hours. He was unemployed. I didn't celebrate out loud. I didn't need to. The satisfaction wasn't in watching him fall. It was in knowing that I hadn't lifted a single finger in anger. No shouting matches. No public confrontations. No revenge that could be traced back to me in an obvious, petty way. It was all quiet, a whisper instead of a scream, a ripple instead of a splash. And that's the thing about quiet revenge. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need fireworks. It just happens naturally, as a consequence of the truth reaching the right ears. Meanwhile, I moved forward. I found a small apartment near my office. It wasn't luxurious, but it was mine, my space, my rules. I filled it with things I loved. A second-hand couch I'd wanted for years, framed photos from trips I'd taken, even a coffee machine that made the perfect latte every morning. Every time I came home, I locked the door behind me and felt a deep sense of peace. No one could walk in and take this from me. No one could hand over my bed to someone else while I was away. Back at my mother's house, though, things weren't going so well. Without my contribution to the bills, and without Sam's paycheck, the household finances started to strain. I heard about it through the family grapevine. My aunt mentioned it in passing. My younger cousin let it slip during a phone call. Eventually, even Mom started calling me, at first under the pretense of just checking in, then more directly. One day, her voice was softer than I'd heard it in months. "We're having a bit of trouble with the bills," she said. "It's been harder without you here. And, well, Sim hasn't found anything yet." I listened quietly, letting her talk. When she was done, I gave her the same kind of answer she'd given me that day at the gate. "You'll figure something out." The silence on the other end was priceless. I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in. I just let the words hang there, a mirror of the one she'd thrown at me when she decided I no longer had a home. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting back at someone. It's about showing them that you didn't need them as much as they thought, and watching them realize it. Quiet. Effective. Final. My new apartment wasn't fancy. A single bedroom, a small balcony, and a kitchen just big enough to turn around in without bumping into something. Asterisked. But it was quiet, peaceful. Every item inside belonged to me, placed exactly where I wanted it. No one could tell me to make room for someone else. No one could toss my things into garbage bags again. Asterisk. I'd wake up, make my coffee, and sit by the window watching the sunrise before work. It was the kind of peace I didn't realize I'd been craving for years. Asterisk. Then the calls started. Asterisk. First, it was an aunt asking if I'd checked in on my mom lately. Then a cousin casually mentioning that things at home weren't so great. Asterisk. Finally, my mom herself called. Asterisk. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. Asterisk. "Sam left," she said, dragging out the words like they were heavy. "We could use your help with the bills." Asterisk, I let her talk. She explained how hard it was, how expensive everything had gotten, how we're still family. Asterisk, when she was done, I gave her the same cold line she'd given me when she kicked me out. Asterisk, you'll figure something out. Asterisk, there was a long pause on the other end. I could almost hear her swallow her pride. Asterisk, then, without another word, she hung up. Asterisk, I set my phone down and just sat there, feeling an odd mix of emotions. Asterisk, relief, freedom, and, strangely enough, peace. Asterisk, that's when it hit me. Sometimes, the people closest to you can hurt you more than any stranger ever could. And sometimes, the best payback isn't yelling, isn't revenge, isn't even cutting them off. Asterisk, it's simply living so well without them. They have no choice but to regret ever letting you go. Asterisk.